Hello, everybody. I'm Jeremy, owner-operator Green 13 for 15 years. Third generation auctioneer and dealer of antiques and collectibles for over 30 years.
We are Lysandra and Tony from ilovediscounts_com. With 20 years of experience across brick and mortar, Amazon, eBay, and whatnot, we have built, broken, and rebuilt resale businesses, so you don't have to.
Hi, I'm Tracy, a CPA with over 30 years of audit and tax experience and have worked with businesses in various industries. I am also a seller on Whatnot, eBay, and Etsy.
Welcome to Reselling Roundtable.
Welcome to the Reselling Roundtable, everybody.
Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, we're diving into a topic that's at the heart of live selling, community. We all hear that community is everything on Whatnot, but is that true? Does building relationships create loyal, repeat customers and a stronger business? Or can it eventually pull sellers away from the very thing that they're there to do, which is sell? Is networking an investment, or does there come a point where the return starts to shrink? Tonight, we're going to attempt to look at both sides, share our own experiences, hopefully hear some of your opinions and questions in chat, and see if we can find the sweet spot between building a community and building a business. All right, let's get into it. Somebody.
I was going to say, who's getting into it?
Somebody.
Who has opinions tonight?
So I'm going to start with, in my little research of this, that I kind of had a little bit of an epiphany.
Hi.
When I was going through topics and questions and just researching, one thing that popped out of me is mom and pop stores, because I always feel that Whatnot kind of crosses the line of what a buyer and seller relationship should be. And I always felt that was just a weird attribute of it. But mom and pop stores have done that forever, right? I mean, the people that came into my grocery store knew who my kids were. I knew if their sister was having surgery next week. And they've done that for how many decades, if not longer. Is Whatnot creating that same Main Street, but digitally, except it's scaled now to thousands of people and not just the couple hundred that walk into your small brick and mortar mom and pop store?
And what do you think? I mean, that's the question. Do you have an answer to this here?
Go ahead.
My epiphany is maybe they are. Maybe they are. And, because now, do I think there's even more of a parasocial relationship with eBay sellers, Whatnot sellers, or live sellers and their buyers? Probably, because it's not a face-to-face interaction, right? And not only that, it's very one-sided in the fact that I can just sit and talk on my live, whereas the buyer can only, chat and text their responses. So it's not a true back and forth relationship or exchange of conversation where you really get to know each other. I will say that I know a lot of sellers that take these friendships off platform, and they share personal phone numbers and they have contact off of the platform. And I know, at least in my grocery store, that was not the case. No one ever really had my personal phone number except for a couple people. So I do still feel like there might be a blending that goes a little bit too far there, but maybe not. Maybe this is just the new age of commerce.
No, it depends on the blending. If the off-platform communication didn't happen, we wouldn't be here today.
100%.
Yep.
What we're
That's
doing
right.
right now.
You're right, actually.
So my broad perspective is the answer to our question is community building becoming a distraction from selling. That's the answer is it's a yes or no. This is not as straightforward. It's depending on you as a seller and where you take it
Correct.
and what perspectives you utilize the community building in. I mean, if you're utilizing community building because your primary focus, whether you realize it or not, is social interaction, to your point that you're talking about, Lysandra, like trying to get that um, uh, the need that we have as human beings to actually interact with other people that has been slowly in a slow slash rapid demise, in my opinion, out there in the real world in regular commerce, where just like you said, me growing up, there was, I grew up in a small town, uh, and where my business is actually right now, and there was one, two, three corner stores that I can think of that was within walking distance from my house, and that's all gone. They're all apartments and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the people that, whether they realize it or not, that's an actual desire of us as humans. So this brings that, even though you're saying it's not exactly the same, but that opportunity to a certain level is there. And then depending, I believe, on people where they're at in their personal life in that world, are the ones that are either succumbing to this or benefiting from it, depending on where they're at, is my opinion. Because if there's somebody in an environment that they're really desiring that community, like just for a simple perspective, if you're living out in the middle of nowhere and you have little to no, contact with people, or you have some type of handicap or health issue that keeps you from creating a huge social hub, this provides an opportunity for that, either as buyer or seller. So it might be more of a focus than it should be for if your ultimate goal is the financial. And if that's what we're talking about, then, depending on your situation and or desires, is going to determine whether community building is too much of a distraction from your selling goals. So that's
I'm
my broadest perspective I can take on it right now.
I'm going to jump in. I kind of see this in two different angles. The first is like what you said, Lysandra, and I agree with you, like that mom and pop shop, and then your customers would come in and you would get to know them and let the sister having surgery thing. I see that happening on Whatnot. So I think you have community in the sense of from seller to buyer or seller to participant, audience, supporters in your room. And then there's the community of seller to seller, excuse me, community. So as far as from a seller to the people in your room, I don't think it's a distraction from selling. I think that community is that mom and pop type feeling that you were talking about. And I think that helps build your business. I do 100% think that community is a distraction in selling when it's seller to seller, when it's those of us on the app as a community of sellers together. I think the community focus overrides the business purpose. And I know I'm very, very to one side of this and very business minded without the so much of the goofiness, but I feel that the community aspect and some of the stupid raid trains that are going on really, really override the and are harmful to people's businesses. And I'm not saying every raid train's stupid. I don't want that taken out of context. I just think there's some that are to an extreme that are like, come on, people, we're here to make money. We're not here to do that. So I think it depends how we're looking at it. Seller to buyer, seller to audience, or seller to seller as a community. Now that I just pissed off
Okay.
a bunch of people with my stupid matrix, it's okay.
So I would say this. I am always going to attempt to have that community with my buyers. They're my buyers. That's who I want in my room. Am I going to go and, get into personal details? That's not my goal. If something comes up and they want to discuss something in the chat, I will attempt to work it into the selling that I'm doing that night. Because at the end of the day, you still have to sell the product and do what you do to make money and run your business. I will say from the previous experience from I Love Discounts, when we were on many more hours a day in other people's rooms, purchasing things from other people, doing the sponsored giveaways, just hanging out in chats and all of this type of thing. Those also do have an impact on your room and potential growth.
Mhm.
Because as we have seen, as we have done this less, we have gotten less of those people coming into our room as well. Um, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to, if you have your core 2 or 3 shows a week, that you should spend the other 4 or 5 days a week on whatnot. And we have all heard Jeremy say, if you have time to network, you have time to sell. But I was paraphrasing Jeremy.
I
That wasn't a
know.
quote.
I got you.
And but I also feel like there's only so much selling that I can do in a week. It's limited by your shipping, it's limited by your inventory, it's limited by your just exhaustion. Can I sell and lay in bed? No. Can I sell, or can I be in bed and just hanging out in somebody else's room? Yes. So I mean, I feel like you can put times and places to that networking or community from the seller to seller aspect. So I've given a lot there.
So
And Lysandra's just
I know.
cut me off.
Are you done?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
With the eye roll, half eye roll anyway.
So, but are you building genuine relationships when you're in other seller shows, or does it work because everyone's participating in an unspoken social contract? I support you because you support me.
We've 100% built relationships from seller to seller by just going in and hanging out and or buying products, which inadvertently has created a closer relationship. But even though we're not buying these products today as much as we used to, we absolutely still have relationships with these sellers. Sorry, she's just sitting right here. I'm just looking. And you can't say that we don't. So hello.
We have, and this podcast is proof of it, right?
Mhm.
But that doesn't happen as much as we actually are online in other people's shows networking. And if you can spend 3 hours networking in other people's shows to earn 1 hour of buyers in your show, are you building a business, or are you simply creating another unpaid job? Could you be taking that 3 hours and listing on eBay, or sourcing inventory, or improving systems, writing SOPs, which I can do from bed?
You'd almost think we had this plan, this little back and forth. That was not. She's jumping down my throat, literally, folks.
Well, it's well spoken, because my perspective on it, what Tony was saying, the community, you right there, in my opinion, are actually going down the rabbit hole of community building, becoming a distraction from selling. And my perspective of selling is optimization and profits as well. And basically, Lysandra, in my opinion, is pointing out what's more effective or efficient with your use of time. Like you pointed out, sitting in bed, you can't do that. You can't sell and sit in bed, but you can network and sit in bed. But like Lysandra pointed out, is that the best use of time for your business? Of course, you're going to hear me say that is not the best use of time, because the best networking you're going to do on the app is live selling with your buyer community. And the best way to get in contact with your buyer community are the ones that are in your room, or the ones that are coming in your room and trying to turn them into potential buyers. So utilizing the time you have off to come up with strategies or ideas in order to capture any new people that are in your room, or apply different principles, or even experiment, coming up with all those ideas. You know what I do with my free time? That right there.
Yes.
That is what I'm not on the platform going in other rooms trying to create the cyclical nature. Basically what you're talking about creates that as well, is a concern, from the same aspect where the people say, I spend $300 in your room, but you're not coming over and spending any money in my room.
Right.
The same thing happens with the support attributes. Like, hey, I spend a bunch of time in your room communicating and participating in the chat, and I don't see you enough in my room, type of thing. Not that that's always going to happen, but it is a factor that I've seen played out and vocalized almost outside of the ecosystem of the platform itself.
Mhm.
And those are some of the concerns I would have applying that type of technique or angle to building your business through community. I view building your business through the community building is all your business, your community, because foundationally, as you always see that I always say, is the most structurally sound and most leverageable, and pays the most dividends in the end in the long run. And I think, and then I'm going to stop and let somebody say something here. This is where it comes back to what I was talking about this morning. People are always looking for the shortcuts. Is it a feel of a shortcut? Are you getting more people in your room by going into networking and developing those relationships? Does it feel like you're accomplishing more in a faster rate? Yes, because more people are coming in your room. But is it the quality of the build that you're after? My perception is no. That's not building the quality that you're looking for the foundation for your business.
Fair enough.
I'm a little torn on the whole networking side of it, because if we just go back to the roots of business and networking in general, which I think we're confusing networking and community building here on this app. I think they're two different things. But if we look at the networking, which is what we've been talking about, in any other profession, most professions, you do your job, you're there 9 to 5, whatever it is. And then there are professional organizations, networking events. Those
Mhm.
are vital to many, many professions. As a CPA, we would have multiple associations we belong
Yep.
to and networking events where we, mix and mingle, share best practices, tips and tricks, get to know each other in the sense for referral purposes is, if I'm a CPA focused on this and you focus on a different niche, I can refer clients to you, you can refer them back to me. But it was all focused on business. Where when we come to Whatnot, we use that word networking by that means, oh, we're just going to go into other people's rooms and chit chat. It's not. Networking is a business building tool. Chit chatting in other people's rooms isn't necessarily business building. It's getting your name out there. It's name recognition. It's the more often I'm in rooms, the more times people see Zoe's treasures, that's sticking in their head, where hopefully when they're scrolling
Mhm.
through their phone and they see my name, they're like, oh yeah, I recognize that name, let's go in there. So it's more of a name recognition versus a community building like thing. I don't see it as community building being in other people's rooms. Now I do see the community building of, you know somebody that I've developed a friendship with, I'm going to go in, I'm going to chat in their room to help get things going if it's going slow. There's certain people on here that I've developed friendships with that I'll go in their room and just make comments to help get that chat moving. Hopefully somebody else will pipe in, maybe bet on something to get the ball rolling a bit. But I don't necessarily think I still think it distracts from my selling, that the best thing I could be doing is being on. You don't see a brick and mortar store saying, let me close down for 4 hours so I can go walk through the streets and go visit all the other stores. That's not happening because it's not effective. So why do we think that's effective here?
I do want to make a clarification. I'm not against obviously people going in and networking in other rooms. The effectiveness of it, I don't like. Tracy, you're talking more from a marketing standpoint, would be my perspective on what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying,
Mhm.
and that's fine. I just don't think it's the most effective. Can it be helpful in certain attributes and to do it from here and there? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Where I think it's wrong is when it's developed as part of your business strategy, meaning that you're going to start attributing more time than the value you're going to get out of it, and all the other unquantifiable aspects that come along with that. I mean, there's already
Absolutely.
enough that's unquantifiable to know. I mean, you're starting to go into those realms that I always like to use the old Ray Kroc statement that he used to say, like, I waste half my advertising budget. The problem is I don't know which half. So it's kind of like that you don't know what the results are of what you're going into when you're taking that approach. But I do think it's healthy from a perspective of showing support for other people
Mm-hmm.
in the entirety of Whatnot itself. Because if Whatnot doesn't grow, the whole all boats rise when the tide rises. All boats rise type of principle. But that has to just be taken with a grain of salt, little cautionary measures, in my opinion, as far as going in and networking that way.
I want to add to Jeremy's little statement and say that we also, all of us, understand that not everybody is on, but not for the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not belittling anybody if you're on Whatnot for a different person, but or purpose. But we are for very business focused individuals, and so that's what our content's going to mainly be about.
Yeah, well, the title of the show is community of today's show is community building, distracting from selling, becoming a distraction for selling. So usually, if we're going to be talking in that context, it would be business related, right? If the other context is community building is there for community building's sake, like if
Right.
that's your goal on here is to build community, then do all of that. If that's because I'm trying to, I mean, maybe that's my shallow perspective. I don't know. Like to me, these social platforms you're on there for, to me, you should primarily, as a selling platform, be on there for one reason, and that's to make money. But people come on there for a secondary reason, and that's for the social attribute. So it's only one of two things, in my opinion. You're on there
Yep.
for social building or for business building.
But
And
some people are on the app for social first.
yeah, I understand. I understand. I understand that 100%. But to me, if you're on there for social first, then Indeed is going to distract from selling. If that's your primary reason for being on.
I have to agree with Cher in the chat where she says she had a brick and mortar. She never closed her store to network, but all of us did visit and network regularly. And the same thing, and that was the point I was making, is as professionals outside of Whatnot, almost every single profession has some system of networking in place, whether it be through professional organizations or, weekly lunches or whatever it is. There's some system in place where you do that. So expecting to do that on Whatnot would be normal, but not to the extent where it crosses a line from networking and community. I think we really blur the line between that type of networking and what we call community. I think that it
Yep.
gets a very gray, blurry area, and I think when we lean too far into lean too far away from the networking purpose of it, then it becomes a distraction to our business.
And to back up Tracy, there's a big
Thank you,
difference of
Moonsky.
that you're a Chamber of Commerce member and you go to a luncheon for 3 hours to network with other businesses in your area versus you spend 3 hours every single day in other people's shows networking.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's a colossally different amount of time.
Yeah, the
That could be
parallel that
detrimental.
the parallel that Tracy's drawn, I think that need is filled with the Whatnot meetups and will continue as they expand and grow. Personally, I mean, it's we obviously are always talking. We're trying to talk in generally with live selling, but the reality is we all pretty much talk about Whatnot. So since Whatnot's been building those out, because the networking for business to business or for that type of community, in my opinion, the real value and the most efficient, effective way is one-on-one. Because like you mentioned earlier, Lysandra, you're getting the effectiveness is really brought down due to the fact that you are live as the person live and everybody else is on the other side and can only text. And I just had that kind of situation with Millicent when I was talking this morning. She was trying to relay a certain principle or idea or concept, and it doesn't it doesn't get accomplished when one person's texting and the other person's reading and then trying to understand what they're trying to say. Some things are just too complex. And in business, to create that really good, efficient networking and capitalize on what one person's opportunity or ideas may have for another, that's going to be in real person to person connection. So again, to me, it just comes back to get on and sell, because and build your community of buyers. As you're the seller and your community you're building is the buyer based community. And then with the little tiny little bit of doing what we were talking about earlier, going in the other rooms and networking via that way to I one of the things I really like is who said it earlier, like going in, Tracy, I think you said it, going in there to support the platform as a whole for people that are having a hard time getting started. You go in there and try to help get the chat rolling and or try to, give guidance or help to somebody who's having a hard time. To me, I think that's the most effective use of your time if you're going to go out there and try to help the community as far as community building goes, because their support's going to help keep the app alive and going, which is going to help us stay where we would like to stay. Me, I'd like to stay on the app and keep making the money that it has been providing. So, which relies on new people being able to come on and sustain and build.
So I've got a question for you, for everybody.
Oh,
Yes, love
Yes,
questions.
Lysandra, yeah, that look was like, wait a minute, I'm the question person. So ever since I have been on Whatnot, I think since day one, you have heard, at least I've heard the phrase community over competition over and over and over. Do you believe in that? What does that phrase mean to you? We just thoughts on that phrase in general.
On Whatnot?
On Whatnot, you hear it repeated constantly.
Yeah, I know I have. I'm gonna say on a social live selling app, okay, community is your competition, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I think for me, I'm more related to, there can be 20 sellers on selling the exact same thing you are. And while it is the community is your competition, I think there's more than enough room there for everybody. Whatnot in particular is still a baby, and it's not mainstream whatsoever. You ask anybody in our area what Whatnot is, and if they even know about it, if they know about it, they think it's a scam. Seriously. They're like, oh, that looks scammy. And they don't even give it a chance. It's new and like, oh, what's that? And I know it's more mainstream elsewhere, but is it really? I mean, we've barely even cut into the pie. I know that's the wrong analogy.
scratch the surface.
Scratch the surface. I get analogies wrong all the time. So for me, while I do look at competition as I need to differentiate myself and my business from other people selling the same thing, I don't look at it as the same as when there were two other discount grocery stores that popped up in my little bitty town where I live, where I owned a discount grocery store.
And I don't believe, going back, I don't believe that my attempts at building a community within my show distracts terribly much from selling. Has it turned into the initial Tony talks and 20 minutes at the start of the show? Yes. But do we make that up at the end? Yes. Little bit of fun for everybody before the business at hand. Do I feel like I keep the customers in the room engaged enough that they want to stick around and participate? I feel like I do, even with the product change from health and beauty, which was obviously more fun, to jewelry, which I attempt to keep fun.
But not fun about jewelry, though.
Not very much, damn it.
What does that have to do with Tracy's question, though?
I don't know.
Community over competition.
But I don't know. But I have no idea. I have no idea. But I was kind of bringing in Scuba's thing as well as just the community over selling aspect. But I feel like you can do both marginally well and still grow the room. I don't know. I like the community of it. I feel like I should be able to do it and sell and still be productive and profitable. I really
Yeah,
do.
I think you can. I think that's what this platform brings.
Yeah.
And I don't. I think what you're talking about to me is different than what we were talking about earlier about spending time in other people's rooms. You're talking about
Yeah.
utilizing your own room to build the community within it by talking early and building your base of how you like your shows to run and building your base of buyers that like the way you run. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's the direction we want to go. And this is whatnot live selling platforms are the platforms that allow you to do that. That's what creates your community buy-in, that creates your branding. That is a larger opportunity of branding than there is on any other platform out there, because part of your branding is having a Tony chat for 20 minutes or whatever you say you do at the beginning of your show, and
Right.
then going through the rest of whatever you decide to sell, all of that. That's your brand.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to build. And the way you build that is going live.
I don't disagree there, but I can only go live so many days a week.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying. I'm just talking about the difference between the two topics we were discussing.
Yeah, I get it.
And the community over competition. I could probably get myself into trouble if I told you exactly what I think that statement really means psychologically and behaviorally. So I've been sitting here wondering if I should bother saying it or not. So I don't know if anybody else has any other words and might say it for me.
I was going to give
This is an
our
open
podcast.
platform.
I was going to
feel
give
like
my
we can
opinion
say-
on community over competition, but I would love to hear what you
No,
have
go
to
ahead.
say.
That you might segue, make it a little less.
All right, well, we're not going to let
You
you
might say
forget.
some of the same things in a different manner.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with the basis of community over competition. My view of that, the way I've always interpreted it, because nobody, like, you don't come on Whatnot, you just hear it. Nobody explains what it means. So we all have our own interpretation of what community over competition means. To me, that is upholding terms of service, not talking disparagingly about other sellers, pointing out good things in other sellers during your show. If maybe you don't have something and somebody else sells it, hey, they sell this and I don't, go check them out. So to me, that's community over competition. What it's not, and what I feel that maybe some people interpret it as is, oh, if you're on, I can't go on because such and such is on. And I'm not talking big seller, small seller. I'm just saying, oh, my best buddy's on right now. I couldn't dare go on do my own selling show because they're on right now. Or I have to say yes to every raid train because it's community building. Or I have to do giveaways because that's what the community expects. So I think there's a pressure to conform to some societal standard, community standard of Whatnot, for the sake of community over competition, where it's kind of like, look, at the end of the day, if you're selling vintage, you're my competition. I may like you. Southern Charm's one of my best friends on this app, and she sells vintage. And look, we're competition to each other. Doesn't mean I don't like you any less. I mean that, I like you less for it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I still think we could be supportive, but that doesn't mean, like, okay, jokingly the other day, Jeremy, Friday night, I walk in here to do my show, and Noel looks at me and he says, I've got good news and bad news. And I'm like, what? He goes, Jeremy's on. I'm like, cool. He's like, yeah, but you're about to go on. And I'm like, oh, the audacity of him to be on at the same time as me. It's like, I think some people would interpret community over competition to be like, oh, well, maybe I'll reschedule my show or something, and I don't think that's the way it is. Like, it should be. I think community is upholding the platform, upholding each other and uplifting each other, not necessarily doing anything that's going to hurt my business for your sake.
The exact same conversation happened over here at I Love Discounts when Jeremy did his little random rambling chat on whatever night it was. I was like, well, we got a show. So I go in there and I listen to the first 2 minutes and I buy a damn sticker. And he's like, what are you doing? I Love Discounts. I got to watch the replay. I got a show. I got to go.
Yeah. And just as a side note to that, don't ever anybody not run or do their regular scheduled show because of what somebody else is doing, because
Exactly.
that is
We
completely the opposite of what you should be doing.
We fell into that trap early on, competing against some of the other health and beauty, the sellers, where we actually created our schedule to focus on the days when they weren't running. But since then, I don't think we care about that anymore. I think
No.
we just run our shows the day we run our
You-
shows, and we try to be consistent with those days and roll with it.
There's too much potential for runoff.
Yeah,
There's actually there's, if you strategically done right, you could benefit from larger sellers running parallel to you. Because if they're selling it's the same manner, but you have different products and the people aren't interested, they're going to go find you very, very quickly.
Yep.
It's not that you're smaller, you have less to lose. They have more to lose than you do by running parallel to them. This is what people don't understand.
I always tell people not to be afraid to run when the larger sellers are running, because as a smaller seller that can engage individually with the people in the room, you can offer so much more than that person with 200 people in their room.
Yeah, you're going to find buyers that either aren't interested in what they have to offer at that time, or you're going to find buyers that are interested in their style of selling and are looking elsewhere. It is something you should never ever be afraid of doing.
Can I interject real quick? I just want to recognize two comments in the chat where Crystal and Cher, they both said what community is not is it doesn't mean you have to share your business practices with others. That infamous question of where do I buy pallets from? Where are the vendors? So you don't have to share that. That's not community. And then Cher says, or allow show sharing. You can be part of the community and uphold the community and not let people share their shows within your show. That's totally okay. So I wanted to point those out because I thought they were two really good comments.
So Jeremy, do you want to piss everybody off with what you actually think about community over competition, or would you like me to go into and what Nine Dimes said earlier?
Actually, the reality, Jeremy, this is our platform. Should we really worry about pissing people off about the comments that we make about our opinions? Or are they our opinions, and this is what this platform is for, is to share the opinions?
Hey, I've already pissed people off, so I say go for it.
No. Listen, it's not too far from what Bill was saying. So if you want to comment on Bill, I can elaborate my further opinion.
So this kind of goes back to what Tracy was talking about networking with other sellers. And have any of you in the chat ever really looked at, so we typically talk about networking in other seller shows as you're going in there and you're chatting and you're spending time in that show. And then you get into almost like a reciprocity trap of where now they feel obligated to come into your show later and chat it up for a little bit, right? What do the larger sellers on the platforms typically do for networking? And this is going to open a whole can of worms. They go into another larger seller's show and they buy a stupid sponsored giveaway, right? And they're just trading those back and forth. There's still that reciprocity trap there, but they're not spending hours in that other seller's show, right? They go around, they spend like 5 minutes, even if that, they buy their thing, get their name shouted out, and they're just changing money back and forth. Which kind of goes to Bill's comment of let's go spend money in each other's room. And I just kind of wanted to highlight the difference of what I see from larger sellers and how they're networking on the app versus, or not even networking at all, because Jeremy doesn't do a ton of traditional networking, versus what I see a lot of sellers that are considered smaller. And I keep using quotation marks because I really hate the large and small.
You mean traditional in the sense of on Whatnot?
Yeah.
Because I network just, for source, like all.
You 100% do.
Yeah, when you say traditional, I'm like, my network is probably the most traditional style of old school networking there is. So, no, I'll just tell you let me put it in context, though. I don't go into rooms a whole lot. I've seen the phrase used minimally when I was in rooms. You guys have heard it way more, so you have a broader sense. The few times that I've heard it, it was always a statement in context of a fear of utilizing somebody else's style of selling that they were boldly against or perspective. So it was more of a almost fear of doing something that might be opposite of what they were talking about or I shouldn't say preaching, but supporting. Um, and they would use that as a crutch of a statement in order to not adopt a certain what would have been perceived in community or in their category as a negative. I'll give you an example, like dollar starts. The principle behind dollar starts, there was a time frame in which people were saying that is not that's a gimmick, that's not a good thing, and they would use a statement like, I'm about community over competition. I'm not here to do dollar starts to draw down the community's value of their items. They think it devalued the items in a community-based perspective. And that's the context in which it was used in the few times that I saw it.
I still think that happens. I could think of examples. I still think it happens.
And to me, that is this is the part that I think people get upset about. That's a vocalization of fear and adoption of sound principles that they have solidified and can see the evidence and the opposite of being truth. And they use that as a reason to negate all that truth. It's community over competition.
Do you think that
It's a righteous statement, essentially. You're saying, I am better than those people because I care more about the community than the competition. Competition is a attribute of business and profit.
Do you think they're saying that not because they think that they're better than you for that reason, but that they're just
that's
scared,
not what I mean by that statement.
to do it?
That's not what I'm trying to imply by that statement. I'm saying that's the type of that's the
It's a scapegoat.
Yes, that's so I'm not saying that they believe they're better than the person outwardly. It's an almost subconscious way of approaching that, because you're trying to escape. It's an excuse. You're trying to escape years and years of business. You're trying to escape sound principles. You're trying to escape there's so much behind a lot of this, and I know I'm being vague about it because we could go about dollar starts, you could go about reduced shipping, you could go about, there are so many different angles you could go with that statement was used as a build up to, that's why I don't do that, because you have to excuse all the sound logic and business principles behind it, and it gives them a prime opportunity to do so. Wash it all away with, I'm doing it for the community. And this person, you're basically trying to paint all the people that are doing that are opposite of what they want to be happening as the bad guy. They're anti-community.
This might be a little bit of a rabbit hole, but in my opinion, competition can be healthy.
Yes.
And it only pushes businesses and people to innovate and come up with new ideas and do better to compete against other people. And sometimes with a community you fall into what kind of, almost like a trap of they're supporting you even and saying you're doing good even when it could not be actually helpful for you. Do you get what I mean? I don't know exactly how to word that.
I don't know. I've always been pretty honest with people if they want me to come and give opinions on how I feel their show or why they can't grow. But because this and this.
But maybe you are not doing something that is so ethical, or you're doing something wrong, or you're doing something that is hurting your business and your community, instead of sitting you down and being like, hey, this isn't okay, or what if you tried this, you might have better results. They're just cheering you on and being good little cheerleaders and not actually helping you evolve.
Gotcha.
Well, we're all quiet.
Yeah, I'm trying to let it sink in. I'm trying to, I'm not sure I'm grasping exactly what you're trying to say in totality, to be honest. Maybe I missed some certain sections, because you first started talking about like competition being healthy, And that ties in with what I believe as well, the community over competition. I believe that, you know, community and competition on this platform are the same thing, and they're both can be healthy if
Mm-hmm.
approached appropriately. So were you just giving examples of that? Is that what you're doing in that?
I hope not, because I feel like that was an unhealthy example.
I was giving unhealthy of examples of community and how it cannot help you go forward in your business. And I guess that was a bad relation. I guess I was really trying to relate two different points altogether.
There you go.
And that's probably where I caused the confusion. I feel like Tracy got me though. She's like, nope, I'm lost too.
No, I at the first part, I think I was agreeing more towards the second part, that I think we tend to lean on community. We build these friendships, and they turn into cliques on Whatnot. I mean, we've all said it. Whatnot's like high school, and I think we will use the scapegoat of community to justify the cliques, which I think then leads into your point, Lysandra, of within these cliques, and they're very, from the people on the outside of them, it's very, very obvious. But when you're caught up in it, you don't see it when you're part of it. Is, you know, like you're saying, somebody may be doing something against terms of service or not doing something very, very well in their business. And you see the other ones within their clique all rallying around them and supporting them. And, oh, yeah, 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 you're doing great. And they're their biggest cheerleaders, versus just showing some tough love, saying, you know, hey, girl or dude, don't do this. Whatever, you know, whoever it is, just, you shouldn't be doing this. So I see that they'll use that community as the crutch to support each other, versus calling each other out sometimes, and when it needs to be called out, where it's very clear certain things that are happening, and all the rest of us on the outside are like, what's going on?
So utilizing community for justification for
Yes.
inappropriate actions and business practices. Oh yeah, that's going to happen. But I mean, that you're, when you start looking at it from the clique, that's basically like a community of different people's community. Like you kind of have like, you know, people that support, just like I was talking about earlier, where there was a bunch of people that were, and if it still goes on, I know it was a thing for a while, and it seemed like cliquish to me, the whole anti-dollar start thing. That was multiple sellers, multiple groups that created like a bigger group under that umbrella. And I think that's the same thing we're talking about with the negative attributes. And, you know, people that abuse, well, we'll just go to the easiest one, abusing like shipping principles. One of the big things where there's, you know, an umbrella of people that are board with certain abuse practices to that aspect. Is that, am I understanding now what you guys are talking about?
Yeah,
Or
and
am I off?
we should 100% go back to the competition is also healthy too.
Yes.
But yes, that is what I was saying.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, competition being healthy, I mean, that's competition's a driving force for so much success. Like, competition is the driving force for Whatnot to keep expanding and growing. If you know, they start having success, and now other platforms are coming along and competing with them, which drives them to do better. And, you know, if those platforms weren't there, who knows what Whatnot would look like. They could either be abusing us as sellers because they're the only ones out there as an option, or they could just be stalled out, and it'd be, you know, you would hit a ceiling because they have no need to grow any, or grow as fast as they're trying to grow if there wasn't other competition coming up. Just like you said, Lysandra, it's what drives essentially innovation and change. And, you know, does anybody like to constantly change? No, but it's a reality of business. It's a cold hard fact that you're going to have to deal with. So trying to stop competition, which is another way I would interpret in community over competition, is you're basically like, let's stop the competing aspect and just focus on community. There's enough for everyone to go around. Which, I'm sorry to say, that principle to me is not true either. There's enough to go around. There's enough to go around for the people that are willing to do the work. There's not enough to go around for the people that aren't willing to do the work. Essentially, it's not just handouts out there for everybody to be had. You got to go and get it, and that's competition.
100%.
So we're all quiet again. What's next? Right? Are we reading comments looking for?
Well, I mean, I was letting that sink in what you're saying. You know, there's enough to go around for the people willing to do the work, but it's not, to me, it's not just willing to do the work. It's willing to do the work and have the confidence in knowing who they are to do it to begin with. There's, it's so easy to let that competition build into your fears and like, oh, well, I'm not good enough. Look at what they're doing. And so I think it's willing to do the work and having that backbone and that confidence to do it. So I think there's a little bit more to me than just the work.
I view work in business in a totality. So we are saying the same thing.
Okay,
I think, the work you have to do to further yourself, to build confidence, the work you have to put into building your own confidence, all that to me is work in business. Like whether you got to go out and get comfortable public speaking to get over your jitters, like if you're willing to go do all that, you're the one that's going to benefit over the people that aren't willing to do that. And if everybody was willing to do that, if everybody out there had no problem doing all that and putting that work in, I don't think there'd be enough of product, enough of space, enough of buyers to actually meet the needs of people's financial support or goals. I don't, So if you reverse that, if you go to the point where you're saying, let's eliminate, because all that leads to competition, the goal, you doing all that self-improvement, you doing everything you need to accomplish that. If you reverse that and look at community over competition, again, another interpretation to me is you're trying to say, let's eliminate competition. There's enough for everyone to go around, meaning let's just hand out, let everybody have access to it. Let everybody just share the money pool and all that kind of stuff. It would immediately get to the point where there was it wouldn't be survivable, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I agree with that. Millicent makes a point that we're about to say the same thing. Professional organizations, but we were talking about earlier, that so far for our industry or for the reselling industry has not existed. And I agree. I think the closest thing we can come to are meetups or like the seller summit that Whatnot just did. But I mean, that was the first seller summit they hosted. So I agree with that point. But I think that's where that gray area comes in, that we confuse community and networking.
Yeah. And I think that's going to come. I mean, there's going to be multiple platforms that are live selling, and there's going to be, cross, someone's going to put a trade show of some sort together that involves multiple platforms of live selling, those type of things that Tracy was talking about earlier in the show.
And I don't know if you guys agree with me, and I've said this a lot in my own seller support shows, is, everybody wants to compare Whatnot to and the fact that eBay has jumped into the live selling world. And the one thing that my response to that is that Whatnot has created something, in my opinion, special. And because it's almost addictive on two different ways. One, you get the dopamine hit of buying things, right? But you also get that dopamine hit of being social and making friends. In some case, they truly become friends. Sometimes it's just more of acquaintances, but you get the dopamine hits of a social media site too, right? And one thing that I think eBay's never going to miss out on, because they're so corporate, is I don't know that they're ever going to be able to evolve the social part that Whatnot has embraced so wholeheartedly. I could be wrong, but
No, you're correct. I believe that wholeheartedly as well. And also eBay, you got to realize Whatnot's the anchor to this in the United States. They were they're the ones that are being known first for it. Mm-hmm. eBay is also carrying a lot of baggage now. They are, for lack of a better term, the legacy version of the sales platform. So that's everyone's immediate association to it. So trying to transition an old platform to a new style, you look at history, that doesn't ever really turn out well. Mm-hmm. It's not something that happens. The opportunity for innovation happened for them in the 90s. Is 2026 to have a company re-innovate all but never works out. So it's just going to be something that limps along for eBay. They'll have some ups and downs in opportunities and values. And the fact, one of their biggest problems, in my opinion, for eBay is the fact that they tried to integrate their live selling platform with the eBay existing platform. It actually is called shipping complications. Just in case I sold on eBay. We got a contract last year to sell on there, and I think they've opened it up pretty much. If you want to get on there, you can now. Correct? It doesn't take
Not
a
quite.
lot to
It's
get.
still by invitation only, but I
But
think
I
they're
think
sending out those invitations
A little bit more.
a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more easily to get it accomplished if you show interest. But anyway, it's it's slow, it's cumbersome, and then the fact that it's tied to that has caused some of the biggest problems. And trying to get a hold of anybody to help you resolve the issues, is a problem as well, from my experience. But they would have better luck if they just either bought an already existing live streaming platform and started adapting it, or just started a new one from scratch, the way they would like to, and just let it run, on its own, instead of having so much baggage that they have with the existing eBay platform. So I don't think they're in its current form. I don't think it's going to be a threat or going to take off at all.
And I know we had the conversation about anchor bias a week or so back, and I also feel like that's going to play a big part of Whatnot's success.
Oh yeah,
Is that they have that anchor
Mhm.
of establishing this type of selling in the United States, and anybody else that tries to recreate that is just playing catch up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why you hear me get frustrated when I feel Whatnot's trying to go backwards and pick up the pieces of a bygone selling platform like eBay. It's going to be like, it's just kind of stuck. And I went and looked at the eBay's year over year sales numbers. They're not anything that you'd want to invest a bunch of money into, as far as the company's concerned. And they're trying to buy their way into growth. Like, aren't they the ones that just bought a Depop off of Etsy or something like that? Yeah. So they're trying.
Yeah, eBay bought
Yeah, they're trying to
I didn't know that.
acquire. They're trying to acquire younger crowds and stuff, which is fine. That's what, if you're going to do something, that's where you got to find your growth. And that's where their mistake was, trying to incorporate the live selling with the eBay platform. They should have just did it separate. Anyway, bunny trail.
Tony and Tracy.
I don't know how much that has to do with community. I think we went from community building to community over competition, and it went to competition.
I talked about, I was talking about that I don't think eBay's ever going to be able to create the community and social aspect of that Whatnot has.
Where it went.
And I think that's integral to Whatnot's success, is the social aspect of the platform. It's what makes it different. It's what makes it trigger different parts of your brain and be addictive in multiple different ways.
I semi disagree with it. I think eBay can build that community with live selling just like Whatnot did. And they have tons more
money.
A larger customer base to bring in right off the bat, which may or may not help or hurt that one way or another, right? Because maybe there's just too many people in there to create that community aspect, or maybe all of those sellers who got the initial start are going to be able to have that community aspect within themselves and a core group of buyers as well. I don't think it's any much different than Whatnot, other than just a different platform.
The buyer base association to eBay is significantly different than the buyer base. And when you talk about buyer base, that's fine, but new buyer acquisition, Whatnot has all the cards there, plus potential money for growth, because they have so much growth potential. They're going to continue to get money thrown at them in order to leverage that. And again, that's why you hear me get upset that they're trying to acquire like eBay's buyer base, and they don't need to. They have the next generation to literally acquire, assimilate into this buying style of, to buy in this style of selling. But again, that's a whole nother topic we could talk
Right.
about in the future show. But
Tracy, you've been awful quiet over there.
No, because I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about this in the opposite way, but I didn't want to distract the conversation because you guys are having a great
well, we're
conversation.
already on a bunny trail, so let's start another one.
Well,
Why
it's not
not?
necessarily
I
a
like
bunny
opposite
trail,
perspectives.
but I was thinking. So our topic was is community building becoming a distraction from selling? But I'm sitting here wondering, um, thank you. I'm sitting here wondering, does for those of us who are choosing to go other ways, like Jeremy, you self-proclaim, don't do raid trains, you're not in a bunch of shows networking, you're like, hey, that's just not what I'm doing here. And I've been more and more leaning that way, just out of, for multiple reasons, business wise, some frustrations, just like I'm pulling back and focusing more on me. Are we, like, I look at that and think like, hey, Jeremy, Switzerland, I want to be like Switzerland because that sounds wonderful. Like, I don't want to be a part of all the drama. But are we creating bad impressions? Are we being looked at as not community friendly because of that? And maybe not just us, but in general, if you don't participate in these norms that people, have established on whatnot as community, are you hurting your business because you're not doing it? So I kind of was going through my head, like trying to look at it from the other side, and I don't really have an answer. Like I said, it was just kind of starting to form all those thoughts in my head.
I'm more than happy to give you my perspective on that, of course.
Go for it.
Community building is done on multiple levels, and I want to build my community within my business model. And I can do that best running my business, not going outside of that. If other people are viewing me as being selfish, I guess would be the word, or like just, purely internal, I obviously don't have a problem with that, because the opportunity for viability and success in that is there, and in my opinion, is there for everybody to be had, because you're still going to have the community amongst back and forth, other people going around here and there. But you're talking about the community built between different sellers in order to support the bringing in of more buyers, essentially, is what my translation of what you were trying to say. And I don't think that's a necessity. You can still have community amongst, like you were talking about earlier, you said there, you view it from the seller to seller and then the seller to buyer. I think your seller to seller community attribute only needs to be this much, and your seller to buyer needs to be as far as my arms can reach.
Yep.
And there should be no real damage in that, because we're on here to build community for our business. And then you guys talk about how there's people on here that are more for the social attribute, and I think that would more than fill the entire platform with its need for the community from a seller to seller attribute, the people that want to do that. So they have their space, and me and people like me have our space. And I don't think one is really ever going to damage the other, because of, I'm not going to go down all the behavioral principles, but there are major different mindsets that people have, and you're not going to get rid of that. And one tends towards one direction and one trends towards the other direction. So.
And I real quick, Lysandra, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn it right over to you, because Donatella instantly said yes, Tracy, yes, that it could be seen negatively, but then it got followed up with, I like it when I see other sellers stop in my live and say hi. Totally agree. I love when I see it. But do you think less of them if they don't stop in your live? I guess that's my question.
And I will say, Donatella, I also appreciate when sellers stop in my live, but and that's where I talked earlier about when we went through a period where I was like, I want to be Switzerland. Well, screw Switzerland. Jeremy's already got Switzerland. Let me be Norway, right? and
Switzerland's a state of mind, dear.
So I know. So I stopped networking in all the shows I was going into, and in correlation, what happened is those sellers also stopped coming into our shows and saying hi. Are you actually building anything in your business, though? Is that actually helping you in any way?
You're building a side job of keeping up communication.
An unpaid side job.
So here's my point to Donatella's statement, and to what somebody referenced a little bit earlier. basically, if you start saying hi, the benefits will be there. And as soon as you stop, the benefits go away. So do you have the ability to keep that up constantly? And do you want to keep it up? And do I think going in and saying hi from time to time in the people's room is a problem? Absolutely not. You know, you're polite. If you go on and you have time to do so, fine. But at the same time, let's be realistic about the best, community you should be worrying about is your personal community off the platform in your life. And we start talking about all this, you have nothing but a bunch of additional side jobs in order to support that is sucking tons of personal time out of your life. If you're going in and on here, I'm on the app a ton. I sell. I try to be on a ton selling. That's enough.
Right.
And then for the community, if I were to have a community of people that I kept going in and they expected me to be in there chatting in all their rooms constantly all the time, that's a tall task and a big ask in my opinion. So
Donna, let me ask this question, because this ties directly to what I think this whole topic was supposed to be. Can you build your business without those sellers coming into your room? Do you need them to come into your room to be successful in your business? Does it make you feel bad maybe that they're not coming in every single show and saying hi? Yes, I get that. But can you successfully build your business without them coming in, or without you reciprocating and going out into their rooms as well?
I'm not gonna lie. The first time Donna Taylor came in my room, I fangirled a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I love Donna.
I also want to ask you, Tracy, because in my experience, and we're going to talk about Jeremy being Switzerland again, right? Mm-hmm. I've never actually heard anybody.
Switzerland. Anyway, go. Never mind.
I don't know that I've ever actually heard anybody talk negative about Green 13 or Jeremy. I have heard people not agree with some of his business principles, but I've never heard anybody be like, screw Green 13. They don't go, they're never in my show and blah, 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 blah. I've never heard it.
No.
You just have to look a little harder.
And I don't necessarily say that they're talking bad about you. That's not really, I'm talking about, sometimes perception is reality. And as a business, if I'm choosing to shun the societal norms on whatnot of not participating in raid trains, not allowing people to share my show, not networking a whole lot, not going in a ton of other shows, if I'm just head down focused on my business, am I being mentioned less often? Is that looked at? Is the perception bad? That was the thought that was going through my head. Part of me is like, I really don't care if the perception's bad, but the other part of me is like, I'm a business and I kind of do care about the perception. I mean, so, and again, I don't have an answer. It was, as you guys were talking, that's what running through my mind.
Yeah. Let me paint it another way. The perception is nothing but a perception. The perception you need to worry about is perception in your shows and your business, not on the. And does Whatnot's discoverability or algorithm care about the perception? It cares about what you're doing in your show. Absolutely, yeah. So, not to be cold about it, but no, I'm all about community and sharing because it's a available element to be harnessed here, and I do it, but I just focus it within my shows, and there's plenty of opportunity for you to do that and get what you're looking for out of. And when people constantly are asking, how do I get more people in my show? How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, guess what? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. It's not doing all, like, if you're worried about all this other stuff and spending all this time, you're not spending and focusing the time on what you need to in order to acquire the buyers you're looking for, the followers you're looking for, because you're not on for them to buy and or follow. You're in other people's rooms and trying to basically harness somebody else's environment for you, and you're not that environment. That's not you. You've heard me say all this stuff before, but I don't think that you're discounting your business or feeling like you're going to lose anything by not being this huge presence in the community. Now, I'm also going to point out this. if you start becoming a presence in the other communities, okay, they're not going to feel bad unless you stop being a presence. And they're not going to feel bad if you didn't start being a presence. It's only if you start and then stop is the negative impact going to happen.
Correct.
So if you focus where I believe you should focus, and that's on you, your business, and where you're at, you're not going to have any negative attributes because you didn't create a positive one to turn negative.
You never started it, so there you go.
Yeah.
So like Donna's talking about, I have a very good relationship with Donna. I talk to her from time. She's one of the people that has my phone number, and I have her phone number. That I try to not have that happen a lot. I've been on for 5 years, and I probably have, as many people that have my number as I've been on years. And 3 of them, well, I count you two as one, but
We are one.
We are
Yes.
one.
So, and I count, Noelle and Tracy as one, they both have my number, but, I think that the heartache from it would happen if you come in, say hi, engage, and you did that a few times for a while and then stop. Then you're like, what did I do wrong? Like, what, you just start having some, self-doubt, like, and all that person may have been trying to do is come in and throw some support your way, and they don't have the time to do it, all the time. But the negative attributes only happen if you created the positive, and not creating the positive isn't a bad thing, is what I'm trying to point out.
Yeah.
Like if you focus on your own business, you're not creating the positive to create the negative, and it's not wrong to not do to go out and try to create that positive. You can create all the positive you need to be successful right in your own business, right in your own environment, right in your own community that you're building. And
it happens on my end too, right? Not just as me going into Donna's room, and I'm not doing that as much anymore, and she feels bad about it. I feel bad about it myself because now I can't go and support those sellers as well. So not only are you feeling it on your side, maybe if you liked when Tony comes in, but Tony's feeling it the same way because I just don't have the time to support 150 sellers a week on a daily basis, much less purchase from them. The reality is, for as many hours a day on Whatnot as I am, if I purchased from every seller, I would literally be spending thousands of dollars a day. So I obviously I can't do that. Go ahead.
I used to also have, now this is early. Okay, I got to put it in context. This kind of stuff doesn't happen, but early on, and this is where my negative association to coming into other people's rooms came from. When we first started doing our Pick This Old House in what was a tiny little category, and we were really dominant in that category, when we would come into somebody else's show and say something, everybody, because it was a small community, they would just want to talk to us. They would just want to talk about stuff they were buying in our room. That's not good. That's not supporting that seller. I was actually detracting from what that seller was trying to accomplish at the time.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen with us anymore, but it's a thing that kind of stung me at the time. So I developed a natural tendency from that to not want to go into other people's rooms, and then it just kind of compounded from there to what I'm talking about now, where if I go in and develop a relationship that way, and then I almost start feeling obligated, because then I feel like they're going to feel bad if I don't come in. And again, then we're back to now I just created a whole nother job for myself.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Of obligation and stress and unneeded obligations there. That's not what you want to do.
That's the whole reason we run around in incognito mode, or
Yes.
ninja mode, as I call it. And it doesn't happen anymore. We're not nearly as big as we used to be on Whatnot, but back when we were pretty far up there in health and beauty, I'd go into a smaller seller show, and it's like their show completely stopped.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, don't. I'm just here. I'm just here. I'm
Right.
going to support you. But you stopped your show, and now you're ignoring your other customers, and it's completely, you're hurting yourself.
It's almost, I equate it to almost when you rate a new seller, like if you have like, a lot of people in that, if I have 150 or whatever people, and by the time I get a raid done, there's 80 to 110 people or something like that that goes into a brand new seller.
Yep.
They just freeze in fear.
Freeze.
Like, what do I do? So did you really help them by sending those people? Or did you actually kind of hurt the potential progress they could have had during the duration of their show? It's
Yeah.
kind of very similar attributes. Like, you want to do that. You feel like I'm doing good. It's a good feeling to try to help somebody with, that has not too many people in their room. But you may be doing the complete opposite of what your intended goals are.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen plenty of those where it just went crazy for the next 20 minutes or so, right?
I've
And I
also
think
seen
then-
a few of your raids really do well for the seller you rated it to.
Yeah. It's throwing darts. Yeah, you were telling me the other day there was a raid I did, and the person was like, they were
Brand new.
they were
Yeah.
ready for it. They were completely ready, and you said that they did extremely well with their show as a result. And to me, that goes back to what we were talking about, spending the time to prepare yourself for, instead of being everywhere else, spend your free time to develop strategies to capitalize on opportunities that may present themselves. And obviously that person, I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but they were ready, willing, and able to do what they needed to take advantage of the opportunity.
They sure were. Yeah. And they had a very successful show. I think I'm on the ninja mode too a lot. I think almost if you go into, like you said, a smaller seller's room, or somebody who just for some reason perceives you bigger than what you are, and they start talking about you, I think that can have just as much of a negative impact as it can in the sense that everybody else, like, would you just shut up and quit talking about this person? So there's certain ones that I'll go in a ninja and just won't say it, because I know times past they've stopped the show to talk to me so much. I'm like, I don't want you to do that, because it ends up looking bad for both of us. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, let's see where questions at.
Do we have questions? Or do you have your list of questions?
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Yes,
I got 30 questions.
30?
30.
Whoa! Rapid fire question time.
No, some of them aren't. Some of them aren't rapid fired. Like this one is not. Can a seller become too accessible? I know Tracy talked about this on one of her talk shows not too long ago.
I did. Like, oh, I gotta remember. What did I say?
You just talked about someone being on too much and
Okay, yeah.
and how that could actually be detrimental. So can a seller
Yeah.
become too accessible?
I think there's value in leaving people wanting more. I think there's relevance on Whatnot that you need to be on enough. The world moves so fast that you can be quickly forgotten. But I also think that if you're on too much, there's a fine line there that it's kind of like, I don't need to go now. They're on for 10 hours a day. I'll go back after lunch. Or I think there's some value in leaving people wanting more.
Yeah, and to me, you can dilute your value, but that comes down to like that's where you start going from where I talk about you're devaluing your experience or your environment. So if you're going to go on a ton and have the capability and it's viable for you to do so because you have the resources, what you're going to have to do though, without seeing diminishing returns, is outdo yourself all that much more. In essence, you have to upgrade your experience constantly. So the more you're on, the more call there is for your experience to get bigger and better and more, because everybody will always create a new baseline. The more you're on, the faster that baseline gets created.
Yeah. And I know, Tracy, when you were talking about the other day, you were also talking about the bookmarks and, bookmark this listings. And so, when I go live, and how that can have you going live 3 or 4 times a day or too often devalues that bookmark, because eventually they're just going to start ignoring it.
I do.
I unbookmark it.
Yeah.
If the seller goes live too often, I'm like, oh, jeez, no way. I like them because I actually get the notifications where I have most of my notifications turned off on Whatnot. And I appreciate it because if I really like you, like Tracy, yours is bookmarked, so I get that notification, that push notification when you go live. Um, but there's been some people, and I still really enjoy them as sellers. But if you're gonna push it every 15 minutes in your show,
I
that
agree.
ain't that's not happening.
What
I
are you
agree.
talking about? Like the product
The
bookmark
little,
thing, where
Yeah,
you
the back
like,
call, the bat
the little
signal.
back calls. Yeah.
Yeah.
The back
okay,
calls.
And there's some
geez,
sellers
that's
that
like
will.
spam email.
It
It-
is
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. There's some sellers at the very beginning they bookmark, they'll pin it, and it's like, cool, you're on. I know you're on. Thank you for letting us know this. And then it's every 15 minutes they're repinning it and repinning it and repinning it. It's at that point I'm like you, Lysandra. I'm like, you told me once. That's enough. I don't need you to be there, mom, mom, mom. It's like a 2-year-old. Like, just be quiet.
Yeah.
So
I think we should explain, since we're on a different platform here, exactly a little more specifically what we're talking about, because I don't know if everyone's aware of that application on Whatnot, that sellers do this.
So on Whatnot, you can make a sellable listing. It has to be something reasonably priced, and if someone purchases it, that it has to be in the description that what you are sending them for that purchase.
It has to be a
But
product.
there has to be a product attached to it. It has to be reasonably priced. But the idea behind it, and it's gotten this nickname of a back call, is that when you get people to bookmark that listing that are fans of you or your show, and when you pin that, they'll get a push notification that you're live so they can come into your show if they want.
It's a little more reliable than the other notifications, which eventually get turned off because there's too many notifications for us other sellers besides Jeremy that go live 5 days a week consistently from 9 to 2 p.m.
And what about
You can laugh at that. That was okay.
hey, there's something to be said about being super consistent.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of making fun because Noel made a comment. Don't go live every day. Look who's talking. And I was going to comment on that. Jeremy has built that up with quality product where a lot of us can't do that 5, 6, 7 days a week. He has built that up into his show where he's doing that. People don't necessarily get tired of hearing Jeremy talk because Jeremy isn't talking a lot of personal nonsense in his show, right? You'll get little tidbits here and there, but it's not necessarily about his personal situation day to day to day to day that he was just talking about. As you do that every single day, you have to make it more flamboyant and outdo yourself every other week, right? His conversation is the product, and he brings the product every single day. If only we could all do that 5 days a week, 30 hours a week.
Key term in that phrase is I built it.
I know.
Do that.
That's exactly right.
You built Switzerland.
Yeah. And I think it depends what you're doing. If you're doing, like, there's different show. I mean, it's mainly jewelry, but there's different days. Jeremy does different things. I'm on 5 out of 7 days. 6, 5. I'm on 5 now. I want to go to 6 out of 7 days a week, but I'm on for 1 to 2 hours in the morning. That's it. And each day is a specific show. It's not the same thing day after day. So I think it's how you do it and what you're bringing. So it's not.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gearing that more towards the people who are like, I'm going to go on for 4 hours, go eat lunch, come back for 4 hours. These 24-hour shows, or it's like just this constant, like, I've got to be on all the time. There's some balance there.
So I want to go back to the question, can a seller become too accessible? And I would like us to approach it from a different perspective of handing out personal phone numbers and off-platform accessibility to buyers or other sellers. And what is your opinion on that?
I'll go first. My opinion. You want to go? You go.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No. You're good.
I think, first of all,
scissors.
you got to be careful who you're giving your phone number to. I mean, this is the internet. Let's all take some personal safety measures here. One, I think you can be too accessible. However, I also I make it very open that, hey, if you have questions, feel free to DM me at any time. You know how many hundreds of people I've said that to in shows versus
Yeah.
the 10 DMs that I've gotten with actual legitimate questions.
Yeah.
So just because it's out there doesn't mean it's always utilized. Um, I'm not handing my phone number out, but I freely am like, you can DM me. Now, I can handle that now. If it got to a point, if I started seeing it like, hey, this isn't going to work, I would have to adjust.
The answer to that question is people definitely can do that too much. If that was the question, right? Can people,
Yeah. Can you become too accessible?
yes, you can, to the point of problems. Absolutely. There's compounding attributes to accessibility. I try to stay within, when I talk from a business perspective, obviously. So I have a business and I have a very strict way that I spend a lot of time to ingrain certain principles. I go over them every single show at the very beginning. That's my version of Tony's, I try not to make 25 minutes out of it.
Right.
But I go over hey, as is means this is what it means in my shows. This, X, Y, and Z, what it doesn't cover, what it does cover. Please, do this. Please don't do that. I go over the same stuff, and it has stuff has been added. Some stuff has been subtracted over the years. But what happens is when people get your number, when people get access to you, they start asking. Without a doubt, it happens. Exceptions to the rules. And then because you built that and you gave it, whether you like it or not, you feel that they're one level above what your standard community-based buyers and followers and stuff are.
Yep.
Whether you want to or not, you are not going to 100% separate that. Your brain's going to perceive them as somebody that is more personal, and thereby the ask is more personal, and you are also going to be more willing to oblige because they'll be viewed closer to a friend than just a supporter, a buyer, a follower, and that's where the slippery slope starts, and then it does. The slope continues. So can they be? Absolutely. Can that happen? 100%.
I will say that I feel like my viewpoint has changed a little bit over the last probably year on Whatnot. And it really changed, funny enough, at the Maryland meetup. And when we really started going to meetups and truly networking with other sellers and finding out that at least during that meetup and other meetups, a lot of sellers freely give out their phone number. At least that's what it seems like to me. And wait, we're giving buyers our phone number to contact us off platform, and all these sellers, you're also giving your phone number out to sellers. I mean, I think at that point, I think only Tracy had her phone number. And that was because
There was a couple.
was there a couple?
Yeah, there was 3 to 5 people that would have had your number at Maryland.
And I will also say, so I don't know that I've really ever given a buyer a personal phone number unless, I already had a friendship with them from reselling or something, or we've met them in person. But
The local customers here that were part of our store, there's a few of them that have our number.
not very many of them, though.
A few.
A
of
few.
them have our number. Yes.
I will also say that our number doesn't get utilized very much. I am horrible about answering text messages back, and I definitely don't answer phone calls. So I feel like people message me a couple times and they're like, ugh, whatever, and they stopped attempting, or at least maybe that's what I feel like happens.
My biggest thing is about if you're going, and we're talking about phone numbers, so I'll just spit that out too. If you're going to provide your phone number to other sellers, how many of them are you going to be communicating with on a daily basis? And wouldn't that be the same principle that we're talking about earlier about spending hours in other shows, but now you're just doing it on a more personal level with the phone calls?
Yep. Good point.
I mean, I could see truly some sellers are communicating with other sellers on their phone, either via text or calls, for 3+ hours a day. And there's no way I could sustain that.
Well, that's to my point of you're creating another part-time job.
Yes.
And then, I mean, you encompass that with how much time you're in other people's rooms. Like, where do people find time to sell? And then they wonder why they're not making it to where they would like to in the app. Because they have all this extra work or obligations they feel they have, or the need to reciprocate, if somebody texts. I mean, I'm with you there, Lysandra, on the texting, because the phone call thing, I'd rather talk to somebody on the phone than text.
I was texting Noel yesterday
Oh my God.
about the AI bot thing, and then Tony walks in the room and he's like, "Why are we texting books? Why don't you just call them?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay."
See, I would rather text all day long.
I'll
do
text.
phone call. I will do phone calls, but I like a short sentence here and there, and then we're good. And like, I'm not going to get offended when you
It
don't
was a
answer.
book, though.
But yeah, that's my point. If texts are utilized in the appropriate manner, where you're just trying to, like, this is what I want to say and be done with it, but there's too many people that want to have a conversation via text.
Yes.
And so now something that I could have talked to somebody for in a like 5 or 10 minute conversation, me more than like 10, depending on who I'm talking to, because I'll start talking about other stuff. But the conversation ends up disrupting half of the day to get something done that could have happened in minutes, as opposed to constant disruptions. And then also, how I always will say that you remove the inflection, you can lose so much
The context
in a text.
Yes, 100%.
As opposed to just talking to someone. So it's
100%.
a very, it's efficient if it's used for that, like, you're trying to relay numbers or have a very simple, like, hey, should I do like yes or no questions? Should I do X, Y, or Z? Give me direction here. That's, what I think. Man, if this isn't a bunny trail, I don't know what is.
That was just the first question.
What's the next question? I want to hear the next question. I like your questions.
Let's see here. If two sellers have identical inventory, does the stronger community always win?
The better environment wins. The better environment.
I agree too.
Just to dig the knife in, the better environment and which one of them is offering reduced or free shipping. Just saying.
Well, that's part of the environment.
Knife to the back, Tracy.
Isn't that part of the environment?
That is the example I use all the time. You have two equal sellers, pretty much the same inventory. Pretty much you like both of them. One's doing a cheaper shipping than the other. Where are you going to go? Just human nature.
It doesn't matter if it's the shipping, it's the cheaper price in total, right? Can I get the same product out of Tracy's room that I can in Tony and Lysandra's room? But Tracy doesn't do dollar starts, but she does max shipping. Tony and Lysandra do dollar starts and max shipping. I guess I could probably get it a little bit cheaper in Tony and Lysandra's room versus Tracy's room. So maybe I go over there and check it out.
We're talking two different scenarios. We're talking about environment as totality, and I think Tracy's trying to paint a picture. If you have parallel rooms and the only difference being the shipping, you're obviously going to go to where there's cheaper shipping, which is supposed to point out the weight that it holds. Yeah. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes.
Fair enough.
That is
I agree 100%.
Example I use all the time. But back to your question. Can you say your question again so I can give you an honest answer?
Yes. If two sellers have identical inventory, does the stronger community always win?
Always? No.
I say
Identical
no.
inventory.
I think the stronger
Stronger.
experience wins.
I
The
can
But
stronger
that would be part
community.
of your community, your environment, as you say.
I think
Yep.
the rooms are too. I think the rooms fluctuate too much. It doesn't necessarily win. Maybe Tracy has a better community selling the same product that I have, but I get 3 people that come in my room and blow it up for a night or two or 10. Are they part of the community? No, they're brand new.
If
I,
they've come to your show 10 times, though, I feel like
What
they're
if they
starting
never,
to become a part of your
what
community.
if they never said a word? We've had buyers that never said a
well,
word.
here's my. I think we getting like we're defining community and environment or experience because my perspective on this is everything could be exactly the same. You could be providing the same experience. Somebody has this experience that was built up over a long period of time. Somebody else is creating the exact same experience here, but their community was initially built with giveaways and stickers. Now, which one's gonna win? Which one's gonna pay the more dollars? And then if you start looking at the is their community over here worse? Is this one better? But it's gonna have a huge difference in what the potential outcome is. Either way, you flip the perspective from one to the other. The community isn't to me the factor in that question. It's the experience that you're providing. If all things are equal, the product, you said product, if I have the same product as someone over here and I'm providing a better experience, but if I have the same product as this person beside me and the community that I built are giveaway, givey goblins and sticker buyers, that I'm not going to get the same money.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen because I have giveaway, givey goblins. And so I don't think it's, I think what Tracy was saying is more in line with what my perspective would be on that.
Gotcha.
And I think
I'm going to oh, go ahead, Tracy.
I was going to say, I think to support that, I think we're all kind of saying community, but it kind of ties into like Tony and I both instantly were like, okay, price and shipping. And then Sassy in the chat was like, ratings and shipping time. We're all looking at metrics that are they're not community metrics. So I think it just kind of supports what we're saying is we're looking at other
the experience,
things.
the environment that's created, the overall
Fair enough.
business.
So I'm going to kind of bring Noel into this conversation because I hear him talk about it a lot and I don't necessarily agree with him. Is community an actual business asset or just another marketing strategy? And the way I take this question is Noel talks a lot about that you're building a community that if you go off platform will follow you no matter where you go. But in reality, I feel like if you left the platform or if Whatnot ceased to exist tomorrow, how many the relationships and friendships will no longer be there? I think most of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just he's not looking at me, so I can agree with you really quick.
I'm going to say this: my community is built by my environment, so the environment is built on the platform because of the tools the platform has to build. Do I necessarily think that there aren't certain people that build a community that would follow them off platform? Just like there's people that built communities that followed them to this platform? Yes.
Right.
I think it's possible.
My personal approach, I would say that that's not the case. Because I've approached utilizing this platform and what it has to offer to build the community. So if I don't have this platform, it's all intertwined.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Sassy, you've met a few sellers, and there's a few sellers that I feel like I would continue to communicate with if the app ceased to exist tomorrow. But in general, am I going to maintain the 150 relationships that I've built on this app? No,
Nope.
I can't even maintain them now.
Right.
But once you take away the platform that cultivated that community or relationships, I feel like a lot of that goes away.
And here's just a prime example. Hey, Jeremy, on your Sunday night chats, how many people were typically in your room?
Sunday night chats,
Yeah.
like when I was coming on for a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well, it was less than half, right?
Half of what? How many people were in those rooms on average?
Probably like low 50s, 60-ish, and then pushing at the highest ever, like 70 or something like that.
And then the Sunday mornings, you're getting 150-ish.
I mean, that's gotten softer now too, but that's because of me.
But there's 36 people here on a different platform, and this is one of our highest room counts since we've started this 24 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't always just follow you. You could have the best community there, but they're not following. Now, will we get views and listens to throughout the week? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But they're not coming out here and watching this live and being a part of the conversation.
Compound that even more.
Us and
your community and Tracy's community
100%.
And Jeremy's community.
100%. I was making it an easy transition, but combined all three of us.
Yeah. And my focus, other than the Sunday chat show, was buyer principles. What we talk about here is, more what I talk about on my Sunday show. So that essentially was two different communities.
Yeah.
My Sunday show, I would have buyers come in, but it's designed for people that are interested in what I do as far as selling. My buyer, the people that like to, the buyer base that I built, they're not coming to just listen to me talk about how that's not of interest to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so us coming over here and talking about selling principles, and that's why we're all agreeing with that attribute. They're not following. They're not going to follow me. Now, I don't even think they would follow me if I just I view that as saying hey, could I leverage what I've done here to get people to come over to eBay and buy stuff if I decide to start listing stuff on eBay? No, because the environment, that's what I built my business on.
Yep.
That's what I was saying earlier. What this app has to offer is ingrained within my business model on here, and eBay doesn't have that. They have live selling, but you know what I mean. Going over there and starting 100%. To sell stuff, list stuff on eBay. I'm not gonna. Will I get a couple? It'll be a trickle, yes, and I also think even the trickle that would happen would die down very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Donatella, I'm going to pose the same question to you. How many YouTube followers do you have, and what is your typical room count on Whatnot? My assumption is that it's similar to what we have coming from Whatnot with our collective communities onto YouTube doing this podcast.
And while Donatella's answering that, Noelle's over there chomping at the bit to answer your question.
What's up, wizard?
Let's do it.
Well, she called me out.
We have 17 minutes.
She called me out, so.
She did call you out.
I need a face. I need a bubble.
Coming off.
So one, I don't sell. Two, the community, it is following us. As you can tell, there was 40 people at one point in this live broadcast. But most interestingly, if you go and look at our statistics, there's over 400 people watching some of the shows. So if you look at those statistics and you start thinking about, 100 and change for Jeremy plus whatever it's Tracy drawing plus whatever you guys are drawing, that's a community. That's 400 people. It's a small town. So let me tell you, yes, the community will follow you. Not everyone, but they will follow you. So yes, I stand by my statement. Thank you.
I want to hear Tracy now.
But before Tracy, real quick,
Go ahead.
And I did say that, Noel. I did say that there will be additional people because we all know that we're in the 200 to 400 range for watches and listens over the course of a week or 2 weeks per episode. I get that. There are people out there watching it outside of this 2 hour time frame. 100%, I get it. It's more convenient for them. But how many of those same people were religious to Sunday morning and were religious to Sunday night and were religious to chat shows on Whatnot that don't come over on a regular? Now there's 20 to 25 people in this chat right now that are religious to this 2 hour time frame. They're here every single week, right? But not 300 of them all at one time. And I'm not saying that to belittle the crowd that's here or the ones that are not here. I'm just saying the crowd isn't necessarily going to follow you. Your community isn't going to follow you from platform to platform, from day to day, from time frame to time frame. That's all I'm saying. I was just making it as an example, not as a belittlement.
So my viewpoint on this is that you create a bond with that community. It's probably similar to what Jeremy is saying, but on the platform or in the environment that you're in. So think about it like people that you work with. If you go to a 9 to 5 job and you're this office job or wherever, you create the bond because that commonality is that job. When you leave that job, you may have connected personally with 1 or 2 people that you'll continue to talk to for years after you've left that job. But are you talking to all 20 or 30 of them? So if we did apples to apples and looked at percentages, that 1 or 2 people that I still talk to from a job I worked at 10 years ago may be the same as 30 or 40 following me from Whatnot to another platform or from another platform to Whatnot in percentage wise, if I'm looking at, comparing them evenly. I don't necessarily feel that my whole community is going to follow me. They will be a few, and only a few, as long as I'm continuing to support and endorse that connection that we had to begin with. So once I start going off doing something else, that kind of breaks that commonality that we had, except for maybe that 1 or 2 that we connected on a personal level.
So
And
smarter shopping, smarter shopper, yeah, simply smarter shopping has a point. The disparity on some of the time zones, and for them is Pacific time. It's a lot easier to come to a show around this time, this schedule, than trying to catch Jeremy or Tracy in the morning. So it makes sense.
Yep.
And I feel like the connection from Whatnot to this podcast, I don't think we're talking about the same question that Lysandra posed, because we're while it's a different platform here, we're still acting and talking
about
from our
Whatnot.
Whatnot perspectives. Yeah, so we're still have that commonality. I'm talking in the sense of, if I decided not to sell on Whatnot and I went and sold on TikTok Live, would my followers follow me? Maybe a couple. But would I have the exact same crowds I have on Whatnot? I don't think so. I don't think there's that
Correct.
translation. Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. That's if I were to go from here to another platform and sell either in a different manner or even in the same manner on another platform, do I think people would follow? Like, would there be a large portion of them? Well, some of them, yes, but not by the majority, because it wouldn't be like I said, it wouldn't be the same thing. It already happened. When I went to eBay, did some people wish list, Rose was saying that they came over and, could have I built it up, but I was not able, or would have I been able to build the same type of environment? It wasn't possible. And that's what I rely on. And like I said, though, that's me. I still think there's people that, build their environments a lot based on their personality, attributes. And those big personalities that have more of a following because of their personality than anything else that they're doing, they're going to have a higher, ratio of people that they'll be able to pull over from one platform to the next. And that's what I was talking about before too, with the like the YouTubers that had a huge community that they built based the majority of it was built probably on what type of personality they had, not so much the tools of the platform. So I think a decent chunk of those people came over, and we saw that happen with certain YouTube people, certain YouTube influencers in the like antiques and collectibles market come from that platform over to like Whatnot at one point in time, and it was a big ordeal. I saw that happen early on, to the point where we all also know that Whatnot marketed to capitalize on that, knowing that those people were going to come over with them. So can it happen? Yes. Would it happen for me? Not to the extent of it being a safety net that I would feel comfortable being able to rely on in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
And
And
yes,
there's, oh, go ahead. Go on.
I'm going to relate it even more because it is possible for some of your following to go onto another platform and follow you there. But again, it's a small percentage. And I'm going to throw out some more numbers of people that I know Whatnot recruited from YouTube. Cool Kicks, like him or not, he has 1.94 million subscribers on YouTube. And he gets room counts of
Average
4,000 to 6,000.
those are big giveaway days. 1 to 2 is typical.
Mr. Beast, who Whatnot paid to come onto Whatnot and do a show and promo for Whatnot and advertise it, has 506 million subscribers on YouTube and had a show of 500,000. And how many of those people were already on Whatnot and were interested in what Whatnot was doing with this Super Bowl Sunday promotion?
The numbers you're throwing out there too, and this is what is quite often when we talk about things like this, not to go down another bunny trail, but doing promotions on Whatnot, these numbers are thrown out there, but they're not put in a context where you're comparing apples to apples. If we looked at 5 million followers on one app and then how many people would show up on a regular show, that may equal 4% of the people came from one platform to the other. Well, you know what? I may be able to capture 4%. So if we were to normalize and standardize those numbers into percentages where we can actually see the true meaning and compare apples to apples, I bet you we'd all be surprised. Right now, we see all these stars go around our eyes because people are saying 5 million or this or that. But let's really dig into the numbers and standardize them. They're not going to look as impressive.
Yeah.
Never heard of that, B. Scott. What I would say with that, Lysandra, is I would probably drill that down a little bit more. And how many people watch a Mr. Beast video on day one and take that number and compare to how many people were brought into the room? Because he's built that following up over several years, right?
Many,
yeah,
over a decade.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many people watch a video on day one, and then how many people were brought over new to Whatnot, and compare a more apples to apples approach, because those are active followers for
He's kind of YouTube famous.
Kinda.
Hey, I was just there for the giveaways.
Me too. Me too.
So,
Let's go.
This is completely off topic.
7 minutes.
But
off topic.
Well, this is a question to everybody that comes to us every Sunday and listens to us, and whoever also listens to the podcast after we're live, because they can't make it on Sunday evenings for whatever reason. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about the podcast, and their synopsis was, "You're not giving me any new information. I can go to Tracy's show, and I can go to I Love Discount show, and I can go to Jeremy's show and listen to them, and it's the exact same information. You're just regurgitating it on the podcast."
Interesting.
So I guess my question is what do you feel that we're offering that's different? Is there something we could do differently? Or do you like all of us being in one place and debating the topics? Because my point is it's not that maybe we are actually regurgitating information that we already do in our chat shows, but we're doing it in a way that we can debate each other if we disagree. And people can take
People are rude.
people are rude. People can take what works for their business and what they resonate with most with, right? Sometimes you get three different opinions in this podcast.
Can I
It's a
can I
Newsflash.
answer?
consolidation perspective,
Newsflash.
and that's kind of the point of this. Like, well, I mean, I'm going to take that just means, in my opinion, this is not for that person. If they want to spend the time to go around to everybody's, let's talk about business efficiency. Was it more efficient for someone to find the information from randomly what we're talking about, the topic, from each one of our own independent points that we're trying to make in whatever topic we're talking about? So you'd have to attend who knows how many, and then how are you going to cross-reference the opinions based on where you want to apply them based on what that person's that you're listening to perspective and or position is on whatnot. So to be able to consolidate that all into one place increases efficiency and viability for so many more people. That's what this is for. And if that you're not getting anything out of it, then this just isn't for you. So there's my opinion.
And I was not,
Newsflash.
I did not take it negatively.
Hold on. I have a newsflash. So they one news. Brazil just lost 2-1 to Norway.
Has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Thank you. Go ahead, Lysandra.
I didn't take
That's a big
it,
deal, though.
I didn't take it negatively. And I very little actually offends me. If anything, I take negative comments like that and I reflect on them and what are we offering, what aren't we offering, and can it be improved on, or are we offering a value to our community? I think we are. And I push back in that conversation. It's not that we're presenting new information. It's that we can debate it live for you.
So my thoughts on this is from somebody who's been doing talk shows for almost 2 years, and I know, Jeremy, you've been doing them longer than me. Everything comes down to about 3 or 4 common topics that every single chat show gets to the same thing. I cannot tell you how many times I've looked at Noelle and I've said, I feel like I repeat the same thing every Friday. I just try to come up with a new way to say it every single week. And I'm with Jeremy. If this isn't the format for you, it's not the format for you, and that's okay, because there's a lot of other people that do appreciate it. But in reality, the questions that people want to ask, the information that they're looking for, really centers around a few common topics, and that's what you're going to get, because that's what everybody wants. So.
And I think we've done a decent job of at least drilling down into specific topics within those 4 topics so that we can discuss it at length. Is there, well, do we mostly agree lately? Yes, I feel like we agree a lot mostly.
We've talked about this a lot outside of the live podcast. And someone even mentioned the other day, they're like, I always think it's funny when you guys kind of get disappointed that you agree on something.
Yeah. well, for those of you watching and listening, the premise when we all talked was the fact that although we all do primarily sell on Whatnot, we do so in different manners, and we will probably disagree on a lot of ways of doing things. And while we do disagree on some narrow topics, as we've seen over the last several weeks, obviously we agree on a lot of them. So it hasn't quite turned out the same for us as we thought it would from the beginning either. I'm pretty sure I can say that for all 4 of us, 5 of us.
I also think for the podcast and for us, we get to pick our topics and we can dive deeper into them and sometimes be a little bit more high level than what a chat show allows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where else are you gonna have 4 people debating and interacting with the audience like you guys do? Because I was asked several times, why don't we do this on Whatnot? And one of the issues with the interaction on Whatnot is that the platform does not allow for this to happen because it's on a vertical aspect.
I also want to throw something out there. I don't really view it as not turning out the way I expected, because one of the top expectations for me was for people to get a viewpoint from multiple, even if it's the same, how it's applied, any principle or their viewpoints at different stages of their business within on the app, because we're all at a different place with it. And if you ask me, the fact that a lot of us agree on the same thing just lends to that simple fact that should solidify to a lot of buyers out. I mean, to a lot of potential sellers or existing sellers, that no matter what stage you are in, the stuff we talk about is viable, applicable principles that can get you to whatever stage you want to be at.
That's a fair point.
Yep.
So, and there's some other attributes that I liked about it, like we can stay on topic and one of us can not have to be here. One of us can take a break, and we can have guests on to have an outside, even a further, additional opinions, which we haven't leveraged quite as much. Will happen down the road. We already talked about how that'll be something that we start harnessing as we have a base of, topics that we've already talked about.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it's hitting a ton of the marks. You've heard me say it plenty of times in here. This is why I like doing this, because it's not that we're disagreeing, we're agreeing very frequently, just from different perspectives, which I believe brings a lot of value to people.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna real quick. I know we're over time. I want to address Millie. Being able to freely talk about other platforms. That actually was one of the main goals of this, is that we could talk about other platforms, although we really don't. And I'm gonna reference one you asked way long, like an hour and a half ago.
Oh, I'm glad you're saying something.
I don't.
We
We didn't talk about TikTok Live, because I'm fairly certain none of us really have any experience with TikTok Live. So there's no experience there for us to even talk about it or bring it up.
Yeah, I don't have any experience, and based on everything we talked about earlier, how building the community in the aspects that I have, when I even mentioned like, oh, TikTok Live is, something that they contacted us and they contacted you guys, right? Like they contact everybody asking if you want to come over and sell on there. Everyone's like, please don't. Please don't. So it's like, okay, if the people that are supporting me literally don't want to support me over there, I'm just like, why do I want to go over and do that? So
all right, guys. Well, I appreciate all of you coming in to listen to us this Sunday evening, as well as other Sunday evenings.
I'd like to see that, Dee. She says technically you can have 3 co-hosts.
Yes, let's see it.
I'd like to see that and learn that little thing as well.
Please tag us when you go to talk about it.
Until next Sunday, we will see you guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See everybody.
Hey, next match is going to be Mexico versus England. Let's go, Mexico.
Hit that like button if you like what we're doing.
Subscribe. Hey, we'll do more World Cup updates.
No.
He's been back here watching it the whole time.
Nope.
Guys.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Catch you all later.
See you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.